Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Linda again, and this is probably the fourth take on this intro. So we're gonna play with some Gemini stuff again today, or actually AI stuff. I don't know, call it Gemini. I'm just gonna use Gemini. You can use whatever AI you want to do this because in theory it should work on any of them. So I've been trying to come up with ideas of what you can do with AI and what we should do with AI. And yeah. So I had a crazy idea last week and I had nothing better to do that for a couple of hours. So I went ahead and created it, which I do a lot. I create a lot of these crazy ideas and just to see if they'll work, and they always work. And then, yeah, I don't know. Should we be using them? I don't know. I'm going to start posting some of them because they're kind of fun what they can do. So here's the idea, the general idea. When I write a blog post, I normally create it like you would a novel or a book or anything. Normally, writing says that you start off with brainstorm your idea, and I can do that in my head sometimes I'll write it down so I don't forget, but normally brainstorming I do in my head, and then I go over and I create an outline, and then I actually write it. Now I use Gemini a lot as the editor for my blog posts. And why is that? Because it helps me. I see it just like back in the day when we first got spell checkers and grammar checkers. They help me. They make my writing better. And AI makes my writing better. I am not an author. I don't have an editor to do it for me. So I use an AI to be my editor, which works for me. And I don't see anything wrong with it any more than I do using a spell checker and grammar checker. So I'm using the AI as an editor. So my idea was, it takes me a heck of a long time to write this brainstorm, right? And then to sit there and chat with it to nail it down. Ooh, what if I had another one to do that for me too? So that was my crazy idea. And it was just like all of a sudden a light bulb moment. Ching! Oh, wait a minute, I don't have to do anything. I can just be completely lazy here and have it brainstorm the idea for me. So, issues, because there were issues. It's not as easy as you would think. So what I did was I created two separate models. One with a system prompt saying you are an editor, and one with a system prompt saying that you are an author. And basically you have them chat to each other. Now the issue is getting your history straight. Because in this case, this one's the model, but that one's the user. And in this case, this one's the model and that one's the user. So you need to make sure that the responses from this one get added to the history of the other one and back and forth. And if you do it wrong, it looks like you did it right because it starts hallucinating all over the place. Yeah. I spent a good 45 minutes trying to figure out, wait a minute, this looks like it works, but it's not working. Wait a minute, it shouldn't do that. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So that's the start of this idea. And that's what we're going to look at. And if you're still here, all power to you. I'll even, I don't know, maybe I'll post the code someplace. Okay, so let's look at some code. The first thing that I did was I created a couple of very simple methods. The first one basically is like a web scraper. It downloads the code off of, it basically just downloads all the text off of a web page. And it uses beautiful soup in Python, and it just kind of removes the HTML garbage, right? Which is fine. And that mostly works. I mean, it looks okay, but a lot of you end up with a lot of junk in the file. So then I was like, okay, well, could we clean that up more? So what I then did is I created another Gemini prompt that just tells it that it cleans up text. And I told it that the text came from a web page and that it should remove anything that's like obviously menu stuff and maybe the footer garbage. And it does an amazing job at it. Actually, this is probably a newer version. So it just goes ahead and it removes a lot of the stuff. It doesn't remove everything, and I could probably fix this and make it do better. I think I had a version that did a really good job. But yeah, so basically it then goes ahead and it's cleaned up the text a little bit, or some, mostly, I would hope. Which is then fed to this brainstorming system. So basically all I do is I init it and tell it that I want it to brainstorm a blog post from the following text, and then I feed it the text from that file. And that's all I do. And then it just goes off and runs. So what is it actually doing? How did I get this to actually work, I guess you would say. I'm not going to go fully through how this code works. But initially, first we do is we go ahead and we init the two prompts. We have the main model and then the helper model. So most of the time, the main model would be, for example, the author, and the helper model is the editor. It's the one helping the initial one. I hope that makes sense. I went back and forth with the namings. I mean, developers are notoriously known for being absolutely terrible at naming things. But anyways, so then I have two separate prompts, one for the main prompt telling them that it's an editor, and the other one telling that it's telling it's an author, and then the other one telling it's an editor. And they're just this is a test version. We have no idea if this is going to work, and I can tune the prompts from now until Tuesday and eventually come to a really good one. This is just a test. We're just prototyping to see this even works. Okay. Then I created something called send to model, where I pass it the model that I want to send the message to and its history, and that's it. Because that way, no matter which model I'm sending it to, it knows that this model, is going to be the model, and then add its history properly. So it's always adding message as though it came from a user, and then the response text is coming from the model. So it's adding the model directly to the history as needed, and then I return the response from this model and its history. That way I can re-add it to the other model, or I can send it as text for the other model, if it's making any sense whatsoever. I hope it does. Okay. So then I run the system. Now, what I've done is I've put it inside of a for loop, okay? So that we initialize it first, so that, for example, the helper model needs to give the main model its initial prompt saying, please write a blog post about this text, right? Once that's done, we have the initial response, and then we can send it to the other model back and forth. So that basically you're just looping back and forth between the two models. And I'm explaining this absolutely terribly. And I know, because I can't come up with any better way of explaining it. Now, the reason I put it in a for loop is because I want them to sit there and chat back and forth until they come to a conclusion. I've played around with how long or how many iterations to give them. And I think if I keep doing this, I might add some kind of a function call to stop it, so that if one of them sees we've decided we're done, that it would then stop the loop. Because what I've found, and it's actually kind of funny, when the two of them are chatting to each other, that they will come to a consensus usually between 5 and 8. And if I let it keep going, if I keep going until, I had it going until 10 and 20 at one point, and they just sit there chatting with each other saying, oh, you've done a great job, and oh, this is really good, and I can't wait to read your next story. And the next thing you know, yeah, I've got an idea for a story about the mouse goes to the lake, and they're like, and then they start brainstorming another story. So yeah, you could have these guys chat for as long as you want, and it would actually be kind of funny to see what they would come up with. Another issue that I've had is that I need to put some kind of a block in there to make sure that it's always safe for work, because I've had one or the other kick out with inappropriate language or something once or twice. So that's not good. But anyways, so then once they come with their, once it's done, I then just save the output to what they've brainstormed, and that's it. So basically, I'm saving the author's history. So you can actually go ahead and see that the editor told me to do this, and then, where's the next one? I really should color code this, but basically you get the text going back and forth between them. So finally the author says this, and now then it comes ahead, and this is its brainstormed idea, but the editor said, well, you could add this kind of stuff here, and then they just kind of go back and forth until they come up with a final resolution. And that's basically what this does. Now that you're still here listening to me ramble on about random crazy ideas. So because this is so open, this little method that I created, what I can then do is I can load this brainstorm and then run it again, but this time telling them to create an outline, which they will then go ahead and do. And then once they've created an outline, I can tell them to write the actual article for me, which is really, really fun, because then all I have to do is go in and do a final edit on that. And the thing is they've already spent 8 turns back and forth, so most of the time the articles are pretty reasonable. But again, you need to read them, because there are some obvious errors and there's some real weird formatting. They seem to like to format everything using the GitHub formatting format, which will not work, for example, over on my WordPress website. But it normally takes about 5 minutes to run. I feed it a web page, it goes off, processes the whole thing, comes up with a new version, and off I go. I could post these web pages. Now, what else could you use this for? If you're still here, it's very easy, or it would be very easy, to have it do the exact same thing and create a outline for a YouTube video. So you could have it create the scripts for your YouTube videos, and it would do that automatically. Would be no problem whatsoever. You could probably have it create them for the faceless or the headless YouTube videos as well. They'll go ahead and create whatever you want for them, and it's reasonable. Now, I do have issues with this, because it's saving us so much time not having to write stuff. But is this actually coming out of our brains, or is it coming out of the bot's brain or the AI's brain? And is this valid knowledge being the fact that it was not 100% written by me? When in fact all it did was it went ahead and it read the documentation off of one of Gemini's websites, for example, and then it went ahead and wrote me an article for it. Is that reasonable? I don't know. I don't have answers for this. I feel guilty posting them as my own work because, I mean, are they my work? Well, the Python code is definitely my work. I do go through and reread it. But the thing is a lot of the times I've found that, especially if it is a documentation page that I actually know the API, the article it writes is very similar to one that I would have written myself. It's probably about 80 to 90% similar to what I would write. The words it uses are probably better than what I would use. Now, why is that? I don't know. I've been living outside of the United States for more than 25 years, so maybe my grammar isn't, or my vocabulary isn't what it used to be. I was never very good at commas and semicolons, and I was never very good at punctuation and figuring out where that was supposed to go. But is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. My first website, I remember having comments that maybe I should have run everything through a spell checker first. So, I mean, it's not a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing, but are we going to stop having original content because people can do stuff like this? And maybe that's why I haven't posted these. So I guess that's it. I've been rambling on long enough now, and if anybody is even still here, I have no idea. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if I should post the code for this. I mean, I'm not opposed to posting the code for this. It's not perfect. It kind of works. It mostly works. I should probably add some more documentation to it, but we'll wait and see what happens. Yeah, that's it. I hope everybody has a nice day, and see you next time. See what else I can come up with.